Hey everyone, this is Hafizullah Masoudi and you're watching From Code with Hafiz. Today we will start the complete CSS course for absolute beginners, and for this video I will discuss what is CSS and what it's used for and some CSS basics. So first of all, what is CSS? Well, CSS is the language we use to style an HTML document, and it describes how HTML elements should be displayed. So in this tutorial I will teach you CSS from basic to advanced, and CSS stands for cascading style sheets, which describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper or in other media. So we can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once with CSS. Now, why do we need CSS, or why do we need to use CSS? Well, because we want to style our web pages, including the design, layout and variations in display for different devices and screen sizes. So CSS solves a big problem if we look at this clearly. So HTML was never intended to contain tags for formatting a web page, and it was only created to describe the content of a web page like a heading or paragraph. So when tags like a font and color attributes were added to HTML, it started a nightmare for web developers, because the development of large websites where fonts and color information were added to every single page, it became a long and an expensive process. So CSS removed the style formatting from the HTML pages. So we can save the style definitions normally in an external .css file, and instead of declaring HTML attributes in every single page, we can just target an HTML element and design it using CSS. So next up, how CSS works. Well, a CSS rule consists of a selector and a declaration block. As you can see in the image in the slide, the selector is the h1 element, which points to the HTML element you want to style. So in this example we have the h1 element, and the declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolons. So each declaration includes a CSS property name and a value separated by a colon, and multiple CSS declarations are separated with semicolons, and declaration blocks are surrounded by curly braces. Now we can select an HTML element in 5 ways. So we can have simple selectors, which is selecting based on name, ID or a class, and the second type is we can have combinator selectors, which means selecting elements based on a specific relationship between them. And the third one is that we can have pseudo class selectors, which is selecting elements based on a certain state. And the fourth one that we have is that we can use pseudo element selectors, selecting and styling a part of an element. And the final way is that we can have attribute selectors, which is selecting elements based on an attribute or the attribute value. If you don't understand these concepts now, don't worry, you will understand these concepts later in this course when we go deep in learning each of them. So for now, just know that we can select elements in these mentioned 5 ways. Now next up, what we have is how we can add CSS to our HTML. Well, there are 3 ways of inserting a style sheet. The first way is an external CSS, the second way is internal CSS, and the third way is inline CSS. So first of all, external CSS means creating a .css file and linking that file to our HTML document. So whenever we want to change the look of our entire website, we can just change one file and everything will be changed. So as you can see in the example image provided in the slide, you can add the link element in the head section of the document and link your external CSS file. Now the second way that we have is we can use internal CSS So if one single HTML page has a unique style, and we can define the style element inside the head section of the HTML document. So you can see in the example image provided in the slide that we have the style element in the head section, which contains some CSS code. Now the final way that we have is inline CSS. So we can use inline CSS to apply a unique style for a single element, and for this to work we can use the style attribute on a relevant element, which can contain any CSS property. So as you can see in the example image provided in the slide, we have a heading and a paragraph. So for each of them we have an inline style. So for the heading we have the style attribute, which holds some declaration blocks, and for the paragraph we also have another style attribute which also holds a declaration block. Now be careful while adding multiple style sheets, because if some properties have been defined for the same selector or element in different style sheets, the value from the last read style sheet will be used. Now what style will be used when there is more than one style specified for an HTML element? Well, all the styles in a page will cascade into a new virtual style sheet by ruling the highest priority. So the first priority will be for inline styles inside an HTML element, and the second priority will be given to external and internal styles in the head section as their defined order. So the last one will be applied, and the third priority will be for browser default styles. So keep this in mind. So you know now that the inline style has the highest priority and will override external and internal styles and browser defaults. Now finally we have comments in CSS. So comments will not be displayed in the browser, and they are only used to help document our source code. So we can use comments to explain the code and may help when we want to edit the source code at a later date. So we can place a CSS comment inside the style element, and it is start with /star and end with */. As you can see in the example image provided in the slide, at the very up of the paragraph we have an example of comment. As it says, this is a single line comment. So if you want to create multiple line comments, you can just press enter inside the comment block, and it will become a multiple line comment. So this was everything about what is CSS and CSS introduction. So I hope this was informative for you and you found it useful. If so, don't forget to give the thumbs up and a nice comment also. And if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe too if you want more videos like this. So thanks for watching. See ya in the next video.